I hope that somebody can intervene to assure me that there has indeed been a drafting error here, because obviously the intention is, as expressed in the explanatory memorandum, that the distance, whether one likes it or not, that the minimum distance should be from another peddler rather than from any other person. And
if one's 50 metres from a peddler, what is all the fuss about? It's not as if these high streets are being invaded by a great rash of peddlers every 5 metres. What does it matter if there's a peddler every 50 metres, or indeed every 100 metres, or every 45 metres? It's ludicrous.
Well, my own friend uses the expression ludicrous again, which I don't dissent from. But this here we're talking about, the existing wording is that the peddler wouldn't be able to move within 50 metres of anybody else. So he's hardly going to want to set up trade if he can find a spot, a position with a radius of 50 yards before it touches anybody else. Then people will think he's got something. He needs a bath or something, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Probably does need a bath.
But no, my honourable friend's being unfair. I do hope that the promoters of the bill will accept that here there is an error. It may mean having to accept that it's not as good as they thought it was going to be, but it will be a modest but welcome concession. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, having made that point, can I then come on to amendment number 16, page 3, line 38, at the end, acting as a peddler, which is that's the one I was dealing with as an alternative. I think this is an alternative way of putting the point that I was putting before about the need for acting as a peddler. But if one looks at paragraph E, what we're saying is that Bill says at the moment is at all times while trading, otherwise occupying any location, etc. What I think is we should insert in sub-paragraph E are the words acting as a peddler, so that we are not restricting the ambit of the rules and responsibilities relating to peddlers within clause 5 of this bill. So it would then read at all times while acting as a peddler, trading, otherwise occupying, etc. Because of course acting as a peddler includes offering one's goods for sale so that people can just look at them and discuss what's available. Might even involve taking an order which would be delivered on a subsequent occasion, etc., etc. And again, I think that would add clarity and precision to this bill. Amendment number 17, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is to page 3, clause 5, leave out lines 39 to 43. And that would leave out the whole of this restriction set out in subparagraph E, which I think would help clarify the bill, and because we know that what activity is legitimate activity for a peddler, and to define that activity more narrowly in clause 5, as this bill now does, is to contradict actually the express statement of the unopposed bill committee that nothing that they were doing was going to amend the definition of peddler. That was the intention of the unopposed bill committee set out at paragraph 1119 on page 63 of the transcript of day 2 on the 1st of July, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I quote, "We are not attempting to redefine peddler." That was said by the chairman, and yet we can see from the wording that is exactly what is happening. Pedlar, there is an attempt to redefine a peddler, and of course that's raising all sorts of concerns and suspicions amongst peddlers. The next amendment, Mr. Deputy Speaker, amendments number 29 and 30 are again relating to the point I made earlier about the benefits of having using the word position or positions rather than locations. Same is true of amendment number 31. Amendment number 18 deals in page 4, line 4, clause 5, leave out bona fide, because this particular clause as drafted, instead of referring to customers, talks about bona fide customers. I'm not sure, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that it's going to be very easy for people to find out who is a bona fide customer, because what it's saying is that nothing in subparagraph 2a, b to d disqualifies any person from occupying a location within a minimum distance for the purposes of trading if he so occupies it on the request of a bona fide customer. Well, does that mean that the customer has to actually complete a purchase in order for his position to be validated, the peddler's position to be validated? How is any observer of the scene to be able to assess whether the customer is bona fide or not?
Again, this is a completely subjective test. This is not objective test. Why is it in this Parliament they have this relentless itch to change, to regulate, to control? How many complaints are there against peddlers? My information is there's one complaint on average per authority in this country. And yet we're introducing this new law which is unasked for, unwanted, and which will control the ability of people to engage in enterprise.
Order. I would encourage the Honourable to stick to the amendment that's before the House.
I will stick to that amendment and just note my honourable friend's remarks, Mr. Deputy Speaker. What I'm trying to do with these amendments is to improve clause 5, and just hoping that we're going to get some assistance from the promoters, or perhaps hopefully I give way to my honourable friend.
I'm conscious of the progress, or perhaps lack of it, as we sort of wander through these amendments and hoping that we might see some conclusion today. But just to clarify, seeing as he did invite the promoters of the bill to do so, the reason why bona fide has been put in there is because there are examples, and if the honourable gentleman were to wander outside of their own constituencies to places such as Manchester and Bournemouth, where stooges are used in order to deliberately keep the peddlers occupied and so prevent them from moving on as they should do. That is the reason why. If the honourable gentleman didn't like the word bona fide, the Latin word, he could quite easily put genuine. But that is the reason why. It's a reality that stooges are used to prevent the movement, to deliberately keep the peddler in one location rather than moving forward.
Well, that's the first I've heard of that suggestion, Mr. Deputy.
Committee, actually.
Well, in that case, and I defer to my honourable friend's expertise, I stand corrected, and it was raised in the committee. But I obviously skim-read that particular bit and didn't notice the reference to it. But the point I would make in responding to my honourable friend is, who's going to decide whether the customer is bona fide
or a stooge?
I just don't see. There have, I think, been 6 prosecutions for illegal peddlery in Bournemouth over a 2-year period. 6 prosecutions. Okay? And so I think that in terms of proportionality, to include the word bona fide in page 4, line 4, and again in page 4, line 11 in relation to a customer is just pushing